cat.
Hello. Oh, there we go. Is that too loud? This looks pretty good. So, last month, no. I guess it was last month. Last month, I concluded, for the first time ever, I did Lent. You know, it's a Catholic tradition. I'm sure you've heard of it. Also, it's not what you think. It's a creatine. And why is it on the desk? I don't know. It was one of the first things I saw, so I put it on the desk. Enough said. Yeah, so I did Lent for the first time. If you're a hardcore listener of this program, then you might know that I did Ramadan in 2025. And, you know, there's some similarities between the two, for sure. Most of it is that you have to utilize discipline to give up something that is taken for granted oftentimes. And, for about a month or, a little bit less. You got to do that. And also it's like a religious tradition as well. And the reason I did Ramadan in the first place was because I went to Turkey in 2024, in May of 2024, 14 days, 4 cities. It was not a resting vacation by any means, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. And one of the things that I learned there was that, one, it's a pretty big part of the tradition for women to be seen as like a sacred thing, a thing that should be protected at all costs. And one of the ways that they sort of expressed that belief was by basically a lot of women were like covered up. They're wearing hijabs, I think is the word for it. And it was very interesting. And in that kind of, I don't know, like I never really thought of it explicitly. I never thought of how important it is for people to express themselves through style and hair color and hairstyle and like what clothes to wear and how to wear them. On what days do you wear them? What's your favorite color? What's your color palette? Things like that. I feel like I always acknowledge those things subconsciously, but never in the forefront of my mind. But on that trip, I certainly did. Also, when I was in Turkey, someone got arrested for being allegedly homosexual. And that was wild. That was absolutely wild. I think I have mentioned that on the program before, but it was a very eye-opening thing because I feel like when we travel abroad, we learn a lot about the place that we live in. A lot of people complain about the United States, and we have our problems, for sure. Corrupt government. Although don't most I feel like a lot of countries struggle with like corruption in government, but we certainly have a lot of that. It's a big problem. But it's when we experience other cultures that we actually end up finding out a lot about our own. And it was an eye-opening experience because in this country, you can criticize the people in charge. You can like whoever you want. You can marry whoever you want, which actually made me think of another thing that we're going to talk about later. And so it was pretty wild. And then I learned about something that I already knew about, Ramadan. If you've listened to the program before, you know that I'm a big mixed martial arts fan. I trained for many years, and there are a lot of high-level people in the United States, high-level fighters. Did I say United States? I'm a little bit sick right now, so I'm a little, I'm pretty tired. I just worked all day, so bear with me through these stutters and stammers. But there are a lot of high-level UFC fighters that are Muslim, practice Islam, whatever you want to say. And because of that, they take part in Ramadan every single year. So I had learned a little bit about it. But when I was in Turkey, what I did learn about Ramadan that ultimately kind of inspired me to do it is that one of the reasons why they do that is to acknowledge the people who are not as fortunate, the people who maybe don't have access to food all the time. So that's why you do it. So I was all on board, and to some level, to a significant extent, I am a bit of a masochist. I do enjoy like going through like physical hardship as long as it won't like harm me in the long term. I do enjoy those type of things, and it was a very unique experience. It was I think it's 31 days long. Yeah. In 2025, it was March 1st to March 31st, and it was one of the most trying times of my entire life because you kind of, and that's what I mean. It's like we kind of take things for granted that are always like right in front of us, or we always take opportunities for granted that are always in front of us, like the opportunity to eat whenever we want. So not being able to eat whatever I want whenever I wanted it made life a lot harder, but it also made life a lot more simple because I struggle with like paralysis by analysis, and it was just very interesting thinking about like being in any given situation and thinking about sorry, camera died. It was really interesting being in any given situation and thinking about, all right, what are the things that I could do right now? What should I do? And it was really interesting that eating was just not one of those things that I could do. In that way, it's totally simplified life. And it also taught me a lot about what I'm actually capable of and like how hard I can push and the level of discomfort that I'm able to withstand. It taught me a lot about that. And I was super grateful for the experience. And I was totally on board with doing it this year. And then I started learning a little bit more about digestion and like eating before bed and how that's like detrimental to your sleep quality. And, like Brian Johnson, the guy who's trying to live forever, he said that primary digestion takes about 6 hours, which I kind of thought that might be true, but then I dove a little deeper, and there was an article on the Mayo Clinic website that confirmed that. So nowadays I try to like stop eating like 4 to 5 or 6 hours before bed, and my sleep quality has gone up tremendously. Also with the help of magnesium glycinate. It's been wonderful. But so because I learned that, I didn't really want to do Ramadan, because what I would do is I would, obviously not eat all day. The sun would set at the beginning of March, it set at about 4 p.m. And then at the end, it was setting at about 7. So I'd be eating 2,000 plus calories in the hours between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. And going to bed at about 11 or 12. And it was just rough. It was rough. Towards the end of the month, like it started to like get to me. Like I started to get really overwhelmed because dealing with the hardship of being so hungry every single day, it takes a toll on you. It takes a toll on you. And one thing that came to mind is like, I remember thinking like, oh, I hope I don't develop like a binge eating disorder after Ramadan. But in reality, it was actually the opposite, because I had so much freedom after Ramadan ended, where I could eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and it just like took a massive weight off my shoulders. But having that weight put on my shoulders for those 31 days, it really adjusted my perspective about life, and it informed me of how much I was capable of. So when I was thinking about what challenge I wanted to bring upon myself in the year 2026, it occurred to me that I was not going to do Ramadan due to all the reasons I just stated. And then I started thinking about Lent, perhaps. And one of my good buddies, friend of the show, David Hoblet, did Lent in 2025. He gave up cannabis, alcohol, and caffeine extremely hard. So good for him. And yeah, it was rad. It was rad seeing him do that. And also, like, there's a branch of my family, my Uncle Andrew, his family, Aunt Carmela, they are Catholic and they do Lent every year. So I started thinking about that a little bit. And then by sheer coincidence, on January 26th, 2026, this year, I met a Catholic woman who, I'm seeing. And I told her, I was like, I might do Lent. And she's like, oh, you absolutely should, because obviously I'm doing it. And so I started thinking about, what do I want to give up? I was like, well, I do abuse music and YouTube a little bit. And she was like, well, I'm actually going to give that up too. She's like, but I'm also giving up noise in totality, whether it's like podcasts, music, television, YouTube. Like, she gave up all those things. And I'm a really competitive person. So the first thought I had was, okay, well, I'm going to do that too. So basically, my first time ever doing Lent, I went extremely hard in the paint with it. It was very, very difficult. But it was cool, like, doing it alongside somebody. And there were a few things about Lent that were really, really cool. One of them was the hardship that I was enduring on a daily basis, not being able to listen to music in the cars. Silent car rides are really weird, but they're also like a massive blessing. You get a chance to reflect, and opportunities for reflection are things that we take away from ourselves on a daily basis multiple times throughout the day, because we are not evolved for all this information that we're intaking all day. We're just not evolved for it. So because of that, we're not giving ourselves the opportunities to really get to know ourselves. So having all that silence, it really like put me in a good headspace, which is ironic because when the day that Lent started, I had a concussion. I was working on a construction site on the South Hill of Spokane, and I was helping some guy install a window on one of my family's construction projects. And I climbed out the window and I stood up and I hit my head super hard on some fascia board. And it was tough. Immediately I knew something was up. Unfortunately I've experienced this a few times. So I kind of knew, I had a feeling about what happened. So I showed up on Good Friday, the first day of Lent, to a Catholic church, St. Aloysius, on the Gonzaga University campus. I was fasting because Good Friday and Ash Wednesday is the first day of Lent. Good Friday is like, it's like the third to last day of Lent, I believe, or second to last or something. Those are both fasting days. And here's what I take massive issue with. Catholics, if you're watching, I'm sorry, I take massive issue with the fact that Ash Wednesday and Good Friday are fasting days, but by rule, what that means is that you can have one full meal and 2 snacks. I mean, dude, like, I know people who are just like really hard workers and they're very busy and they eat less than that on a daily basis. So the fact that is categorized, those are the guidelines of a fasting day, I found that to be really soft. And once I found that out, my first instinct was, well, absolutely not. Obviously, I'll be doing a full fast. And the woman I'm seeing, she's going to be on the podcast. She was already on the podcast, but I know that this episode is going to be out before that one. So she's pretty cool. I told her, I was like, dude, obviously I'm doing a full day fast. And then she felt like inspired to do it as well. And so we did it. So I showed up to St. Aloysius Catholic Church on, honestly, I don't know what day it was. It was like 46 days long. I show up to that place and I am starving. It's like 7 p.m. I have a concussion. And it's a brand new thing to me. So I'm in a state of like total discomfort. you know, one, my brain chemistry is a little off. My body is starving for food. It's going into survival mode. And I'm in a setting that I've never been in before. So I'm sitting there taking it all in, making sure that I'm not being offensive or disrespectful to the culture. And so we go down and, you know, we get in a line, and there's this cute old woman in our line, and she's putting ash on our forehead. And she was like, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like, she says like, you were born ash and you will die ash or something. And it, you know, it was interesting. I think it is really poetic in a way. It is, because it kind of makes you more kind of, what does it make you feel? It kind of, I don't know. It makes you feel the emotion of like humility. It makes you feel like, you know, because as human beings, we've created these civilizations that are made of concrete and wood and siding. And anytime that the only natural part of the world, which are like trees and roots, like it's not the only part, but any time that those natural elements like poke through these artificial things that we've created, anytime like roots start to poke out through our roads that we've paved, we just cover it up, you know. So in that way, we've created this illusion of perpetual control over our environment. And because of that, I think we put ourselves on a pedestal, and I think we're constantly sitting on a high horse of sorts. So hearing things like that, where it's just like, you know, you were born ash and you will die ash, you know. Maybe I'm completely misstating it, but that was kind of like, it's like what I remember from it. Again, I was concussed, so like, forgive me. But it was really interesting. It was a very, very interesting experience. And there were it was weird because in a couple of ways it was much easier than Ramadan, but in other ways it was like a lot harder. Because during Ramadan, I wasn't going to school yet, so I would just I would fill my time by doing light exercises where I wasn't expending too many calories, and then just kind of watching stuff, listening to music, listening to podcasts, kind of filling the void, distracting myself from the pain that I was feeling due to the hunger. But yeah, but during Lent, there really was none of that. And here's the shitty thing about Lent, was that before I really knew that I was doing Lent, before I had decided, I did a 48-hour fast like the week before Lent started. And it was like, that was tough. That was really, really hard. And I started it in the dumbest way possible. I started on a Sunday and it ended on a Tuesday. Yeah, and it was tough. And on that Sunday morning, I went to jiu-jitsu and got my ass kicked. And when you're getting your ass kicked, you're kind of like expending more energy because you're panicking. And also like in jiu-jitsu, if you're getting just absolutely worked, then you're kind of like exploding out of positions and trying to survive and like fighting really hard to pull someone's hand off of from underneath your neck. And it's like, it's a very, very strenuous activity. And so that's how I started it. It was really tough. It was really, really rough. Yeah. And so like basically I did that 48-hour fast. And then for the next like 3 days, I was just like very hungry because my body was in like one hell of a deficit. And it was pretty cool. One thing that happened during that fast was that there'd be moments where I would be maybe like sitting on the ground or something, and I felt like my knees and my hips, to whatever extent they usually ache or they hurt, they didn't. And like one of the reasons for that is like autophagy, which kind of starts 18 hours into a fast, where dead cells start, like your body starts ridding itself of like cells that are no longer reproducing, and it starts growing more cells because it finally has their resources to do so. So in some ways I felt really very good, but it was somewhat of a miserable experience. So then the next week I decided I was going to do Lent, and then I figured out that the first day was a fasting day, and I was just kind of over fasting, but you got to do what you got to do, right? And also another thing to note here is that I have psoriasis. I don't know if you can see, it's right here. And I got it really young, and if you have psoriasis, you have like a 30% chance of developing arthritis, which is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So basically for the last like 4 or 5 months, I think I've been doing like 18-hour fasts. So for example, tonight I stopped eating at like 6 p.m. I'm going to end up going to bed at like 11 or midnight, because tomorrow is Memorial Day and I don't have school, so that's cool. But so yeah, I stopped eating at 6 p.m. and then tomorrow at noon I can eat again. So, and it's kind of cool. It's cool for multiple reasons. All right. And one of them is that I have noticed my psoriasis is like getting way better now that I'm doing fasting. Cause I don't know why. Maybe like my body has the resources to kind of like fight the inflammation. Also, there's this medication that people take called prednisone. It like helps with pain or helps with inflammation, maybe. And it's cortisone. And my grandfather hypothesized that when I'm like deep into my fasts, maybe like hour 14 to hour 18, like I'm in pain. So then my body might be releasing cortisone to help me with the pain, which then helps the inflammation, both in my psoriasis and just inflammation all over my body. So that's pretty cool. But also here's another thing is that they say that after 12 hours of fasting, your body starts using body fat as fuel. So if I can sound like a douche for like a second, just like 1 second, basically like one of the outcomes of doing fasts and eating the right food, like in your eating window, is that you kind of get like pretty shredded because your body's just using body fat, so I've gotten a little leaner, also like put on a little bit of weight in the last like couple months, because I've been like climbing a lot and stuff, so I'm like 175, which is cool. Feel very strong, feel very good. But one of the beautiful things about fasting is that for me, I thrive so much when I have structure, and it's like a lot of, it's like it is structure. 18 hours fasting, 6-hour eating window, and it's just, I have to utilize discipline, and it gives me something to focus on, and I always do better when I have something to focus on, and I'm like putting my mind towards something, always. But anyway, that was a bit of a tangent. During Lent, I learned like a little bit about the Catholic faith, and there's some things I find super beautiful. The 10 Commandments, I only know a few of them. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie. And that's kind of obvious, but when you think about the nuances of those commandments, those 2 commandments, and you obey them to like an extent that is like fully obeying them, it's beautiful, and it's also thought provoking as well. It really is, because if you think about what that actually means, it's like it means like you shouldn't lie ever, like even to protect someone's feelings, and then there's like the extremes of this commandment is like up for debate. It's like, do you lie to somebody if you're about to surprise them with something huge, like say it's like a gender reveal party or for your husband or wife, like maybe you just lie to them for that second, so then you can have like the fun surprise that you've been planning for a month. But what if someone asks you if you like their haircut and you don't, and you think it's ugly? Like, what do? Like, do you just straight up say no, not really? Mackenzie says that you just say like, oh well, I kind of liked how it was. Why do you like it now? But yeah, I learned a little bit about the faith in general. One thing that one thing that's hard for me to wrap my head around, and it turns out it's hard for a lot of practicing Catholics to wrap their head around this as well, is the idea of the Eucharist. The what's the other word for the Eucharist? It's like communion. Oh, one second. Yeah, one interesting thing about the Eucharist or communion is that Catholics believe, like the Catholic faith states that when, like during Mass, during that ritual, the service, the cracker in the wine, it like transforms into the body and blood of Christ, which, I'm like, I believe in science like a lot. So for me, it's like super hard to like, obviously I think it's a symbol, which is still beautiful if that's what you believe in. It is beautiful. Yeah, I don't really believe that, it's tough. It's hard, that's a tough one to believe. But I guess a lot of people struggle with that too, And there's also the whole thing about, if you listen to a couple of old podcasts, in particular, if you listen to the podcast titled Bi-Curious Activities in Bellingham and Spider-Man Sex Dreams, you'll know that from when I was 6 years old, I knew that I was a heterosexual male. Like Catholics believe that like the entire reason to like fall in love and get married is to have children, which as a straight male, I believe that. I think like my purpose for being alive is to have children personally. And I look forward to it someday. It'll be pretty cool. It'll be cool to like possibly have my children on the verbal journal. That would be rad. And it's not that homosexual people are not welcome in the church, as it's been explained to me. It's that if they get married, it's not recognized by the church because it's not like a valid marriage, which I take slight issue with, while also understanding what they mean, because like according to the, what is it called, the catechism, it's like the rule book for Catholicism, I think. It states that, and I could be so wrong, so fact check me on this, but I think it states that like you're supposed to like, one of the reasons to get married in the first place is to have children, I think, or at least a lot of people believe that. So that's why it's not recognized. But here's an interesting thing that I learned in Psychology 220. I think, no, Psychology 180. I learned that there's a cluster of cells in the hypothalamus, in the anterior of the hypothalamus. It's called INA3. In this cluster of cells, the size of this cluster of cells differs in heterosexual people and homosexual people. So this kind of points to the possibility, and most likely the reality, that we are likely born homosexual or heterosexual. Now, you could make the argument that it is determined by nurture, but due to my experiences in life, I don't believe that really very much, because I grew up hanging around my grandmother and my sister quite a bit, and we would go to Nordstrom, and I would like wear my sister's clothes, like wear her tank tops and be like, yo, look at me. Or my sister would like put makeup on me and stuff. And so if it is true that nurture determines our sexuality, then how come like I'm not like homosexual? And how come I knew at 6 years old that I was attracted to females, And my experience is not everybody else's experience, but but due to my own experiences, I find it hard to believe that it's a choice. I actually very much think it is not at all a choice, and we are just born this way. But also, it makes me think that it feels like the reason why we have the reproductive organs that we do is so we can reproduce. So it is a little bit puzzling. Like, why do people feel sexual attraction towards people who they cannot reproduce with, if that is what we are truly called to do? It's very confusing. It's way above my pay grade. So I hope you weren't hoping that I was going to give you an answer on that, because I don't have one. I just don't. Yeah. It's really interesting. Very, very interesting. Also, I'm kind of switching top. I bet I have so much more to say about it. It's just not coming to mind right now. So, but, I've been thinking about it. And I've been getting into this new athletic pursuit of rock climbing. And I'm doing very well. I'm progressing at a rate that is very cool. And it made me think a lot about, I am a vegetarian. I'm a ovotarian, which means I eat a vegan diet, but I eat eggs on a daily basis. It's interesting because there's this stereotype about vegans and vegetarians that we're just soft, we're weak, we're feeble, which is the case for some of us, for sure. I recently met a woman who is anemic. She's a vegan. She's anemic, and she brought up the possibility. She's like, "Oh, maybe it's because I don't eat meat." Let me just make it clear: if I was anemic as well, I'd probably be eating meat. So that's interesting that she made that choice. It's probably due to stubbornness or something. I don't know. But I haven't eaten meat in 8 years, and I feel very strong. I feel very good. I feel much better than I did when I was 19, when I was still eating meat. I feel much, much better. In August of this year, it'll be 8 years. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to 2028, because then it'll be 10 years, which is a really long time. But I just so take issue with the idea of, if you're vegan, then you eat a lot of soy, then you're gonna grow breasts and stuff. Dude, that pisses me off so much, because do you know how many things in the grocery stores have soy fillers in it? If you drink most protein shakes, that you can just buy off the shelf, most of them have soy fillers in it. Chicken from Subway is 52% chicken, I think. I saw that one time. And most likely a certain percentage of the remainder of that, 48% is probably soy fillers. Oreos have hydrogenized soy something in it. So I hate that argument so much. I really, really do. I think if you ate enough tofu, you'll probably have some hormonal imbalances. It's probably not great, but I do not like that argument at all, because if it was actually true, then I would be very weak, and I'm very strong, for my size. It's I do okay. Yesterday I went outdoor climbing with my cousin Harair. Don't really have any photos. Have a couple though. It's pretty rad. It was awesome. We went to Camille Park. He taught me how to lead climb, which I'm taking a course. It's done. It's confirmed. I'm taking a course through Spokane Mountaineers where I'm learning how to lead climb, learning all the nuances, and I'm very, very excited. It was really tough because when I quit jiu-jitsu, due to just getting so many injuries, it was tough because I started grappling when I was 18 years old during my first year of high school wrestling, my first season at Ferris High School, and it became a huge part of me. My whole life I played soccer. Certainly to some extent, there is, to some extent, aggression is permissible in soccer, but the extent to which I was aggressive was a little much for that sport. And I wasn't terrible at it. I was okay, but it didn't come to me naturally. And when I first started wrestling, something clicked in me, and it just allowed me to like express myself, and it allowed me to like express all the frustration I had around not being understood. And it was just so wonderful. And after that season ended, a lot of things happened. One of which, I was so mentally and physically burnt out that I just wanted to do nothing. And that was the start of me becoming a major stoner, which is very interesting. Like pushing myself that hard, truly turned me into a hedonistic person, very much so. But another thing was I found something that I loved. So I started training MMA for like a long time, and this is not a controversial take. Getting hit in the head that much is not good for you. 10 out of 10 doctors would not recommend. And then jiu-jitsu, it really takes a toll on your body. And in jiu-jitsu, you're not hitting and kicking to the head, but it's, you can still certainly catch a knee or an elbow to the face. People certainly get concussed in jiu-jitsu, without a doubt. So that's very dangerous too. And I got a bad neck. My lower back is a little bit messed up. Had a few knee dislocations as an adolescent. So it's every time I would go to jiu-jitsu, to some extent, I would be rolling the dice on getting injured in 4 parts of my body. Even my hand too. In November of 2023, I fell off a ladder, busted up my hand really quick, really bad. And it flares up sometimes, and it's just like a rough sport. Not to say that climbing doesn't take a toll on your body as well, but it's just different. Like I see some people at Wild Walls downtown Spokane, and they look to be in their 60s, and they're still climbing. Also, Alex Honnold just free soloed that building in Taiwan, Taipei 101, and he's 40 years old. And that kind of reminded me how much longevity there is in the sport. So I kind of just shifted my focus, and this is my thing now. And I'm very excited about it. I'm very, very excited about it. In climbing, it's hard to develop strength, but it's kind of easy to develop technique. And I came in with a lot of strength, like the proper amount of strength too, because in jiu-jitsu, you're pulling a lot. You're doing this, and it's like a lot of grip strength, and it's like a lot of back, because you're constantly trying to pull someone into you, at least in many situations. So I kind of brought that pulling strength with me, but obviously I had no technique. So the technique is kind of catching up to the strength slowly but surely. So the rate that I am progressing is very, very exciting. And I'm super pumped about it. I'm super pumped. It's now like late spring in the greater Spokane area, and it is beautiful. It's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. School's almost done. Kind of. It's, I think school ends on like June 18th. Today it is May 24th. It is currently 8:56 p.m. I have a couple assignments that are due at 11:59 p.m., but I decided to do this. I just had some stuff to say. I haven't been doing this as much. There are a lot of reasons for that, but it feels good. It feels really good. I recently got a MacBook from Best Buy. My computer it stuck with me for like 7 years. It was like an Acer gaming laptop, which is, the graphics card in a gaming laptop is really good for editing videos. I'm not much of a gamer myself, but it just died on me. So that was really unfortunate. It happened fast. So I got this really expensive MacBook. In 2018, I got a MacBook, and I was studying in the SFCC library when I initially went there, and it got stolen. So that was unfortunate. Yeah, Apple Care covers everything except for theft. So anytime if I'm studying and I gotta go take a piss or something, packing up my laptop and taking it with me to the pisser every time. Yeah, I'm a little paranoid. Yeah, it's pretty much all I got. If you made it to this part of the video, I very much appreciate it. Yeah, this is absolutely wonderful. It felt really good to do this. I just wanted to reflect a little bit on my experience doing Lent, because it was really one of the most trying things I've ever done that I didn't have to do. And it was like, and it kind of formed me as a person. One more thing I want to say about my experience doing Ramadan was that, like, I always had this idea that in order to make it through a day, like, I had to be properly fueled, eat enough food, which is certainly the case. But it was so eye-opening in terms of what I could actually accomplish, like, while going through the hardship of being hungry, like how much I was able to endure. Because one of the things about being a stoner and then no longer living that lifestyle is that you kind of have this perceived ceiling of perseverance. And it's hard to see that you can actually push past that perceived ceiling. And sometimes you do, and then you return back to what's comfortable. And so, like, constantly pushing past it, it moves the perceived ceiling in a vertical direction, and it's a beautiful thing. It's just so hard to come to terms with change, even positive change within yourself. And for me, positive change has happened at such a rapid rate that it's almost like, at times, it's almost like I don't even know who I am, because I've changed so much in terms of my work ethic and, like, what's important to me and what I want to accomplish. And yeah. And during Lent, I think I got an iPod when I was like 9 years old or something, 8 maybe. So most days since I was like 9 years old, I've listened to my own music. I played my own music in the car. I thought, like, oh, I want to hear this song, so I put it on. But for 40 days, at 26 years old, I did not do that. Also, I'm 27 now, guys. It's pretty wild. I started this YouTube channel when I was 16. Obviously, I've been very inconsistent over the years posting on it. But, yeah, this channel's 10 or 11 years old. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. I'm going to go take a shower. I'm going to rinse my sinuses. I feel terrible. But, yeah. It's always after work that I feel like recording these episodes. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Hell of a lot of fun indeed. This is the Verbal Journal, live from somewhere in the greater Spokane area. I'm out. Fuck it. Where's that headphone? What up, dude? What's up?